The second formulation of the categorical imperative is known as the universal law formulation. Um, Essentially, this formulation states, always act on that maxim which you could both conceive and will to become a universal law. Now, this formulation is a little bit complicated, so again, let's break it down to ensure our understanding of it. First of all, what's a maxim? A maxim is essentially your reason for acting. Why are you doing what you're doing? You can think of it as the intention, the intent behind your action. And so, in this way, Kantian moral theory focuses more on intentions rather than the actual consequences of your actions. Um, that's a difference between Kantian moral theory and utilitarian moral theory. But essentially, the maxim of your action is the reasoning or the intention behind your action, why you're doing what you're doing. And so if we continue on with the universal law formulation, we see that it says that you have to first be able to conceive of a world in which your maxim would become a universal law. So what this means is that you, as a rational person who's considering this action, you're saying, should I do this? Is this right or wrong? You, as a rational person, have to ask yourself, can I imagine a world in which everyone who's in a similar situation as myself acts on the same reasoning or the same intention that I have? Could I imagine a world in which that happens? Now, when we are saying, can we imagine a world in which this happens, we are asking ourselves, can we consistently imagine a world in which this happens? And we specifically mean, can we imagine a world in which all people follow my maxim without falling into a logical contradiction? Okay, now let me give an example to try to make more sense of this. Again, going back to the reading, the primary text by Immanuel Kant, in one of those 4 illustrations, he talks about a person who is considering suicide. And the maxim of that action, according to Kant, would be this: in order to love myself and to improve my life, I will end my life. So in other words, whenever I want to improve my life, I will end my life. Can you imagine a world in which everyone acts on this maxim? And according to Kant, you cannot consistently conceive of a world in which this maxim becomes a universal law. And the reason is that the maxim itself is self-contradictory. Think about it. You are saying that to make your life better, to improve your life, to improve the quality of your life, you are going to take your life. You are going to end your life. Your life is going to be no more. In a way, that doesn't make sense. And so for Kant, the act of committing suicide does not pass the first part of the universal law formulation. So just like the humanity formulation, the universal law formulation has 2 parts. The first part says that you have to be able to conceive, imagine, logically, a world in which everyone might follow your maxim. The second part of the test is, can you actually practically will a world in which everyone follows this maxim? The idea with this second part of the formulation is that you yourself have to be willing to live in a world where other people do what you are about to do, where other people take an action on you that you are about to take toward others. So for instance, go back to the example of helping the person who's suffering. According to Kant, you could conceive of a world in which no one helps each other. You won't fall into any logical contradiction. when you have a maxim, for instance, saying, when someone is in need of help and I could help, I won't help. If everyone in the world followed that maxim, you wouldn't have any logical contradictions. However, according to Kant, you would have a practical contradiction. And the reason for that is because you would not want to live in a world where people do not help you. As a rational person, you should recognize that it's very possible that one day you may be in a position where you need help. And if you universalize this maxim that you won't help people even when you can, then that means that other people aren't going to help you even when they can. So according to Kant, this action of not helping people would not pass the second part of the universal law formulation, and so it would be immoral, just like committing suicide would be immoral because it doesn't pass the first part of the formulation. So this is the second formulation of the universe of the categorical imperative, equally as important as the humanity formulation.